Welcome, Spartans, to another Halo Book Club episode, a part of Podcast Evolved, your home for Halo. I am your host, Krista, and with me today is Aaron.
Hi, guys.
David.
Hello, everybody.
And Oren.
Welcome, everyone.
And this episode, we're going to be reading from the office of Dr. William Arthur Iqbal. Probably one of the most prominent pieces of Halo lore we've reviewed to date. So we're very excited to go through that.
Don't forget the poems. This is pretty in line with the poems.
Now, this is no Soma the Painter. Now, let's just be clear.
Alright, but before we get started, check out our awesome website, halopodcastevolved.com or halopodcast.com. It features all of our past Halo book clubs and our other shows, like Podcast Evolved, our weekly show that alternates between lore discussions and the latest on Halo and Xbox news. Mission Debrief, a deep dive into every Halo games campaign, mission by mission. And Builds with Blocks, which is centered around the micro action figures and brick-based construction sets of the Halo universe. Our Patreon page, patreon.com/HaloPodcastEvolved, offers a variety of exclusive rewards for our patrons, like early episodes, swag, and our own Evolved album. Yes, we are music makers now. We're music producers. We've gotten into the producing business, apparently. We would like to take this moment to thank our patrons for their continued support. Thank you!
Yes, thank you very much, everybody.
Woo!
Thanks, guys.
Big thanks.
Yes, much appreciated.
Massive support.
Yay! And finally, we encourage our listeners to support Audible. Listen to the growing collection of Halo novels all in one place, along with thousands of other novels, podcasts, guided wellness programs, Audible originals, and more. Use the URL audibletrial.com/podcastevolved to learn more and start your free trial. Okay, now we can get into the meatiness. I'll just go through the book club info because there's not really that much info. So the title is From the Office of Dr. William Arthur Iqbal. The publisher is Tor Books and Simon & Schuster, which is for the 2019 edition. Formats available. This is actually in Halo Evolutions Volume 2, so that's physical, ebook, and audiobook. And the release date was November.
I was surprised there was an audiobook for this 8-minute story.
Well, I mean, they did, like, all of them, so I guess. But the release date is November 30th, 2011 for Volume 2, and April 16th, 2019 for the 2019 edition. So, this is basically a blackmail letter that William decided to send to everyone that has confidential data about the Ark and the Halos and the end of the Human Covenant War and what happened, and he sends it to people and then says, "Psych! You're mine now!" and then he imprisons them forever. They all die and explode, and it's just the worst.
Ow.
I don't know what happened. Yeah. It's very dramatic.
Krista took a really negative view of how this is going.
Yeah, this is like one of the biggest scientific discoveries that Dr. Williams starts to kick off.
I got the impression that this letter to me had less of a blackmail tone and more of a, right, you nerdy motherfucker researchers, all of your research is no longer historical and irrelevant. It's now modern day shit. Hurry up. Like, that's the vibe he sort of gives.
It feels like one of those pop-ups on your computer that you click and it says, "You want a free iPad," and then it's like, psych, now you have a virus on your computer. It's like, yes, you've been sent this confidential information and now you belong to the Office of Naval Intelligence because you know confidential information.
Yeah, it's really a double-edged sword, because, like, you can imagine that the Joe Schmo scientist was like, "Yo, this is pretty cool," and then gets this letter and is like, "Oh, this is, like, top secret stuff, like, what do I do? Like, oh my gosh, Oni, I'm one of them now?"
I don't know. But I think they were all into it because this would be, I don't know, for the time this takes place, I'd have to look and check the dates compared to the Kilo 5 books, but like this is the sort of thing where Phillips ended up in Like, I know he was doing shit for Oni anyway because he was studying the Sangheili, but like he was another one of these kind of guys. I'd imagine a lot of his co-workers are now roped in through this, but they're probably all just as enthusiastic. This ties in sort of to what comes in Hunters in the Dark, and you've got, who do we have in it? Is it Arthur? It's Man. Oh, what do we call the two doctors in Hunters in the Dark?
Oh, there's Dr. Man. Dr. Man, but he's on Zeta Halo. In the beginning of Hunters in the Dark?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're part of this program because I think they work, or they get drafted in, or they work under Dr. Iqbal because they're there and he's in the meeting at the start with Oni, you know, when they tell them that the Halo countdown has started in like slow motion. Because I think they work under Dr. Iqbal, but this is probably when they got drafted as well. Like, this would have been the moment where they went, fuck, we read this research, now we work for Oni, and then it's like, we're gonna do a bit more shit, and all of the stuff that you thought wasn't relevant to, like, modern day, apart from academia, is now entirely, like, current events.
This is almost like the precursor to Outpost Discovery, where they kind of reveal this information to just normal Joe Schmoes. Except this time they're just revealing it to other scientists, basically so that they can ask for their help to continue the research on all of these artifacts.
Yeah, and obviously it totally recontextualizes a lot of their work. So there's probably a lot of people working on things that they didn't know what to call it, and all of a sudden you now have the word Forerunner, and you now have all the access to all the information Cortana would have brought back. Do you know what I mean? You get, like, obviously they're like rapidly kind of like learning new things as they go very quickly. And it's kind of like the great push, and it does contextualize the period very well in terms of like post Halo 3, before Halo 4 kind of stuff, that like what state the UNSC is in and what state the kind of like the universe is in for humanity. I thought that's kind of the most interesting thing I took out of it, to be honest.
Yeah, what Oni is doing now that they know that there's a giant facility on Voy, or at Voy, and it's like, okay, well, this has been here for 100,000 years. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah,
well, and like, there's no way. It goes over the Halo extinction event because they saw, I forget what it's called, but there's a literal, when geologists
the Ross
go
Ziegler
through...
blip is what they call it.
Yes. Yeah, so basically when you go back through history, you can kind of look at planets, basically the rock structures and stuff like that, because, Earth is constantly building on top of itself, and so are other planets. And so throughout a bunch of different planets, they found that this, like, one section of history on these planets just had fucking nothing. They're like, well, what the fuck happened there?
Yeah, and they were able, based off of all of this, they were able to see that, that was 100,000 years ago when the Halo array was last fired. And because I think they even said that, like, in like the little footnotes, that a galactic scale extinction event was like a hypothesis, but it was like not completely ruled out, but pretty much ruled out, because they're like, how can that even occur? And then lo and behold,
we're still here.
Lo and behold, they discover the Halo array, and they're like, oh yeah, I guess a galactic extinction event is possible.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how Oni deal with the fact that they absolutely cannot hide the portal generator because it's so fucking massive. They even talk about how they got brief scans by looking through the portal at the Ark whenever it was opened, and like the shipmaster and all went through that. Like, we got brief scans of the Ark, but not enough to like glean much detail from it. So all these people were just sitting looking up into the sky going, oh fuck, this is it. So you've got no way to hide it, so your only option is to draft all of the scientists and go, right, we need to do all this, and we don't know if the shit's gonna hit the fan again, so we still need to be like in panic secret mode, but you get to have some details.
And this letter had a call to action as well. It's like, now we know that these like huge ancient weapons exist and are a threat, which means we need to be constantly looking for them, because whoever our enemies are next, they're going to be looking for them too. So we have to find them first, and we have to make sure we know about them first to make sure that we have, the giant big weapon and our enemy doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, and bouncing off that, I love the way when he mentions like that the Halos are a primed active weapon system. They talk about how they can no longer assume that other Forerunner artifacts aren't also primed and active. Like, they've been sort of dealing before now with the idea that a lot of shit might be dormant, and now they're going, no, any of this could be active at any moment, which leads on to things like the Composer and that they were studying. You'd be like, you've got to be really careful with all of this Forerunner shit, because just because it seems dead doesn't mean it is.
Yeah,
very
definitely.
much so. And also, just to kind of touch on the access to information, like with this kind of call to action, Dr. Iqbal kind of says in the letter that he, here's all these like hologram information, like here's some things to keep you up to speed if you don't know anything. But there even still is some deception to this, because later on he talks about how the Ark was effectively destroyed, and like, oh, don't worry, but that the Ark builds halos that destroy the galaxy, but it's been destroyed, it's been dealt with, don't worry about it. But we do need to study these Forerunner artifacts to kind of safeguard some of the mindset that like, oh, if the Ark is still out there in this seemingly dormant state, and you just said that things can't be dormant, does that mean more halos can be produced? Well, yes. So instead, Oni decides to hide that from these scientists that are now going to be studying these Forerunner artifacts. So a lot of kind of two sides within this letter.
There's a lot of, compressed information, and only giving them so much, but you can't. Oni would be a fool to reveal all the information they have.
Very much so. But yeah, I think this is a nice little piece that, like David said, just gives context to like this crazy event that happens in Earth that like you otherwise, like how do the scientists kind of react? Because we're Master Chief and we kill all the aliens and save the world, but like from like a political and military side of it, it's interesting to kind of see this little window that this letter kind of gives for that context.
And I like that they go back and bring a character like this back into life again, because 343 have a good track record lately of going like, remember that character that was in that one thing that was mentioned this one time? Now they're a pretty major character in a book, here we go. And like, they've sort of done that a couple of times now. So I appreciate that we get these little nods to things that we had before. And like, they had no way of knowing that this didn't like pave the way for anything originally. It was just a little thing that someone put in at the end of the book, but they've done good stuff with it. Like, Hunters in the Dark is good.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, like, Dr. William is a recurring character in the Halo novels now.
Yeah, and it sort of sets up this whole, like, in Renegades, it sets up this entire sort of process of dealing in black markets of Forerunner tech and Oni trying to buy and get shit and procure shit and track down things like certain Forerunner AIs.
Guilty Spark.
Study. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah. So I like what they do with shit like this, because this is, 8 pages of one letter work email sent out to some people, and they just go, right, we'll take this guy and we'll build off it.
I feel like if I got an 8-page email, I would just die and delete it and not read it. You're like, oh fuck, I can't be bothered with this shit.
To be fair, at least it's better than like a big group Skype call for it, because this is definitely one of those things that this could have been an email.
Oh, it could have been a
giant
Zoom call.
I would hate for William to be
4,000
getting the reply emails. Dude,
yeah,
that
like,
guy's
you don't want to be doing
inbox
that.
Must be fucked with a bunch of scientists asking a bunch of questions. What the fuck's
You know,
going on?
this
What do
guy's
you mean
got
I'm
his own
part of
little.
Oni?
He's got his own little personal AI. That's probably his like PA. That's kind of going through all those things.
Well, he's like a doctorate researcher at what is it? The University of Edinburgh.
St.
Glasgow.
Healy Community College.
He like oversees genealogical studies at the University of Edinburgh. So like he's a top dog. And then he joins Oni as like a lead researcher and scientist.
And hunter of guilty spark.
And hunter of dark.
Yeah.
I like to think about how these historians are sitting there suddenly going like, oh no, like we are suddenly in demand because we know and understand some of this shit, and we have some historical references to things, and we can figure this out. Whereas before they were probably like in a bit of a dusty lab somewhere looking at some trinket or, you know, relic that they thought wasn't relevant anymore. And now they're
these
like,
bitches
oh,
got
shit.
job security.
Yeah, you're like, we work for Oni and we are like the cutting edge of research now because we're going to figure out how to open the doors at the portal at Voi. Like,
also, they can't get rid of me because I know all of their super secret stuff.
Oh no, you definitely...
There's a way to get rid of you.
Well, I mean, they could kill you, but...
No, you end up in one of those banned glass boxes. That's where you go.
No, you end up at a research station in the middle of nowhere. That's what they do to punish naughty boys. At the edge of the galaxy, just looking into space, doing fuck all.
Oh god, this would be the pre-Osmond days, so yeah, you entirely get fucked. Like
Osmond doesn't come around until Hunters in the Dark. That's where you see William and Osmond like talking.
Yeah, like this would be
this is
just
right
before that, so Parangoski absolutely straps you to the end of a fucking Mac round and launches you into the sun.
Yeah, she does. She gives to. She's like, yes, you, my best scientists that have been causing problems lately, are going to go on a mission to the Ark. I'll see you in, 10,000 light years. Have fun.
It's that or she strikes me as the sort of person that has like a Mr. Burns style trapdoor, and she'd be standing there going like, could you move 2 feet to the left, please? Thank you.
Excellent. She just shoots him out into space. I bet she'd do the same thing if someone brought her the wrong, biscuits with her tea anyway, so...
It's only ginger nuts. You don't make that mistake.
Oh, yeah, no. Anything else, and you're just shot right into the sun.
Don't bring her a fucking hobnob. It'll be the end of you.
All right. Do we have any closing thoughts or statements about this letter from Mr. William that makes us Oni agents? We're all Oni agents now, by the way.
Dr. William.
Yeah, we all read the letter. We're all part of Oni now.
Yeah, we all have top secret information. It's great to be a part of something for the greater good of humanity. And
when do I get my benefits?
Yeah, where do I get my hazard pay? But yeah, I think the big thing to take away from this is just kind of the background dealings of what goes on after a super soldier storms through and kicks some alien ass. And to kind of see what happens in the background is always good perspective to get.
All right, is that it, boys?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Not much more you can say.
No, it's super short. It's like 2 pages long.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and haven't read it, the amount of time we've spent recording is about how long it'll take you to read it, if not less.
Oh no, we've spent double the time recording than it'll take you to read it, trust me.
We should have just read it.
We could have. Dramatic reading of work email. Let's go.
That's how I will read all my work emails from now on. Alright, anyway. Thank you for joining us. You can find every episode of all of the shows that we have ever done throughout of all of time on HaloPodcastEvolved.com. Wow. Yeah, I know.
What a
it
deal.
Also features links to our Discord server, Facebook group, Patreon page, Xbox Live Club, and other contact information. If you want to leave us a voicemail about this episode or send us a dramatic reading of from the desk of Dr. William Iqbal, please give us a call at 205-EVOLVED. That's 205-386-5833. We look forward to your submissions. And with that, I have been your host, Krista. And next time, evolved.
Evolve!
Evolve!